This is your ultimate guide to making the perfect flaxseed gel every single time. I've been making flaxseed gel for over 8 years now, and it's one of the best DIYs to grow healthier hair. It's multi-purpose and can work for all hair types depending on how you use it. And no, you do not need to wrestle with pantyhose for great results. Before you follow this recipe, download my free flaxseed gel cheat sheet. It has everything you need, the ingredients, the steps, the tips, all in one place so that you can take out the guesswork every single time you make flaxseed gel at home. It's going to be pinned in the top of the comment section. In a medium-sized saucepan, bring 4 cups of distilled water to a boil. Using distilled water will help the longevity of the flaxseed gel since it doesn't have the bacteria and chemicals found in tap water. But by all means, use whatever water you have on hand. Bringing the water to a boil first will allow the flax seeds to heat evenly and creates a more consistent gel texture rather than combining the flax seeds in water before boiling. While the water heats up, measure out half a cup of flax seeds and choose one optional add-in. Hibiscus creates more slip and moisture for dry hair. Fenugreek is rich in protein and can strengthen weak hair, and if you're looking for protection from free radicals, then cloves are going to be your best bet. Feel free to get creative with this. There are so many different herbs to choose from, and you only need 1 tablespoon of this. Herbs can get pretty pricey and you don't need a lot of it for it to work. So pour the flax seeds and herbs into the boiling water, stir to evenly combine, and lower the heat to a medium-low simmer. With the top off, continue to cook for 8 to 10 minutes max and stir every once in a while to prevent sticking. I found that cooking longer than this makes the gel way too thick and difficult to strain. After 8 to 10 minutes, strain the gel immediately after. Your gel will still look watery at this point, and this is what we want for it to strain easily through. My secret to perfecting the texture is allowing the flax seeds to sit submerged in the gel as it cools. The key is having a bowl and strainer wide enough so that the gel is in contact with the flax seeds and separated at the same time. The exact bowl and strainer I use will be in the description. If you have a cheesecloth, you could use that to submerge the seeds back into the gel as it cools. Another important factor is letting this cool for at least 15 minutes before pulling the strainer out. You can even allow it to cool completely before separating. Once it's fully cooled, the texture should be thick enough to hold a little bit of shape, but flexible enough to glide easily through your fingers. If it's too thick, it will be difficult to apply to your hair regardless of your hair type. Transfer the flaxseed gel into a pump bottle. I bought a mason jar at the grocery store for $2 and these pumps from Amazon for about $8. Using a squeeze applicator bottle works as well, but they prevent us from constantly putting our hands in the flaxseed gel, which is best to avoid contamination. Fresh flaxseed gel can last anywhere from 7 to 14 days depending on how it's stored. It's best kept in the fridge in an airtight container. I personally prefer to portion out what I need and freeze the rest, but as for the leftover seeds, don't throw them away just yet. We can repurpose them into a hair mask. Put the leftover seeds into a blender and add water until it's about an inch above the seeds. Blend on high until it's as smooth as possible. I'm using a high-speed blender on the smoothie setting, but if you have a different one, you may need to blend it several times to get it to a similar consistency. Putting a clean cheesecloth over the same bowl I used before, I'm using it to strain any small particles left behind so it doesn't get stuck in my hair. Now, you could think of this like making homemade oat milk or almond milk, except we're using flax seeds. And despite how difficult straining this may look, it's actually very easy. It should glide out of the cheesecloth like butter. In the comments, I've read that some of you turn the flax pulp into crackers, which is super creative. That's an amazing way to reduce waste. And I've also found some recipes where people turn it into no-bake energy bites. So if you try a recipe, please let me know what you think about it. But when you're done straining, it should have a runny consistency. I had leftover flaxseed gel that I needed to finish up, so I mixed that in with the flax milk to use as a pre-poo before wash day, but it's great to use on its own. Anything that's left over, freeze it in a silicone ice cube tray. Preserving it in this way can last anywhere from 3 to 6 months. These come in so useful for me because I freeze absolutely everything that I DIY. Once the gel and the milk are frozen, I store them in a silicone freezer bag and I label it so that I know when it's time to throw it out. You could also label it by putting a notification in your phone. I've done that too if you don't want to use a physical label. In my original flaxseed gel video, I did teach you guys how to use a preservative, a broad spectrum preservative, but for beginners and anybody who wants to simplify the process of making flaxseed gel, the freezer is the absolute way to go. And I treat this kind of like meal prep, so when you cook things in bulk, you can freeze them, safely freeze them, and reuse them later. The best way to defrost flaxseed gel is by allowing it to thaw in the fridge 24 hours before you plan to use it. This method maintains the texture perfectly, but just in case you find a little water left behind, just strain that out before using it. That's why I used a sprouting jar top just in case, but I ended up not needing to strain it. Once it's fully defrosted, the gel should be used within 7 to 10 days. The second way way to defrost it is using a double boiler method, which is not my favorite. It's more hands-on and it takes way more time to do. Over gently boiling water, put a heat-safe container over it and put the frozen flaxseed gel in the bowl, cover and let it thaw until it's completely melted. On my stove, this took over 30 minutes, which is ridiculous considering how long wash days can actually take, and I highly recommend planning a little ahead and defrosting in the fridge instead. The second method is the best when you forget and don't want to ruin the texture of your gel by heating it up in the microwave. You could use flaxseed gel in many ways, but one of my favorites is for low manipulation protective styles. After washing my hair and putting in a leave-in conditioner, I layer the gel on top before braiding my hair. I'm not the best at braiding, but braids come out a lot neater when I use flaxseed gel. When I'm focusing on healthy hair growth, I avoid sleek tight buns like the plague. Tight buns tend to thin my hair over time, and because my curls are on the finer side, meaning the diameter of the individual strand is smaller than average, I have to be careful with what styles I do on a regular basis. Dutch braids and flat twists are usually my go-to when my hair needs a break from manipulation. Once I braid my hair down to the end, I use more flaxseed gel to style my edges and any curly hair that I decide to leave out. When I braided my hair, I made the major mistake of using overcooked flaxseed gel, and wow, it was snowing when I took my braids out. So it was pretty wild because that usually never happens when I use flaxseed gel. I didn't want to waste my messed up batch, so if you overcook your gel, you don't have to throw it away. Just use it as a pre-poo before washing your hair so that you don't have to worry about any flakes. The flaxseed gel that I mixed with hibiscus, that gel came out perfect. When I rewashed and styled my hair, I had 0 flakes left behind. After I finished braiding my hair, I tie down my edges with a satin scarf until it dries just a little to set them in place to give them a little bit more of a polished look. After about a week of my hair being out in the elements, it definitely needed some moisture, so before I wash my hair, I use the flaxseed milk as a pre-poo to detangle and condition my hair. But to make it more manageable, I split my hair into smaller sections and I fully saturate my hair with water before applying the mask. At first, I used the pump bottle, but soon completely regretted it because it was way too thick to get through the pump. It could be because I mixed it with overcooked flaxseed gel, but eventually I switched over to a squeeze bottle and that worked out so much better. For each section, I'm working the flaxseed mask into my hair from root to tip, taking care to massage it into the root area and gently finger detangle before putting each section into a loose twist. The slip on this mask is fantastic for getting all the shed hair out. Because my hair was pretty tangled, I started out using my hands to gently pull apart the knots before following up with a brush, but you don't need to finger detangle if it's way too much. Just go straight in with a detangling brush, working from ends to roots. While you don't need to worry about protein overload with flaxseed gel, I found it to be possible with the flaxseed mask. If I use it way too much, it does make my hair brittle and hard over time. This is not something I could use once a week, but with the gel, I use it every day on my edges and once a week as a styler, and my hair stays balanced and hydrated using it this way. Using the flaxseed mask once a month, or depending on how well your hair can handle protein treatments, should work out better. But everyone's hair is different though, so once you try it, monitor how your hair responds over time and adjust it as needed. I know it may be tempting to leave this mask on your hair as a leave-in conditioner, but don't bother doing that because it will leave behind residue that builds up on the hair, unlike flaxseed gel, which is completely water soluble and washes out easily. Once all the sections are detangled and saturated, I topped it with a reusable foil cap and then added heat for about 30 minutes. This helps it to penetrate my low porosity hair a lot better. Afterward, I shampoo and condition my hair like normal, apply a leave-in conditioner, styled my hair with flaxseed and hibiscus gel, and this is how my hair came out when it fully dried. It was pretty shiny, healthy, and full. Some questions that you guys asked me in my last video, I figured I'd just go ahead and answer them right now. I'm looking now because I'm reading the question. Why does my hair feel crunchy after applying flaxseed gel? It's just the gel cast that helps your curls to stay in place and not frizz as they're drying. All you have to do is just scrunch out the crunch with some oil. I use jojoba oil, but you can use any oil that your hair agrees with. How do I get rid of the white flakes that come from flaxseed gel? One of the first things I check, did I overcook my flaxseed gel? When I unbraided my hair, hair that I used the overcooked flaxseed gel on, it was a mess. It was flaking all over the place. I really didn't want to waste it, but I was like, ooh, let me push it and see. It didn't work out for me, guys. And that's because the gel was overcooked. A second reason could be the flaxseed gel doesn't mix with your leave-in conditioner. If that's the case, try and find a leave-in conditioner that combines well the flaxseed. A way to do that is by mixing the flaxseed with the leave-in conditioner in the palm of your hand. If it turns clear, then it's more likely not to flake. But if you see white clumps starting to form, you will definitely end up with white flakes in your hair. Another reason could be you're using flaxseed gel on buildup or dirty hair. You've got to apply flaxseed gel on clean, conditioned hair, unless you are using it as a pre-poo. But if you're using it as a styler, you have to use it on freshly washed and conditioned hair. Otherwise, it will leave flakes behind. Lastly, you gotta use flaxseed gel on damp or wet hair. Don't mess around with putting it on dry hair. There are a few exceptions to this, but if you're styling your hair down or you're doing like a wash and go, something like that, do it on damp or wet hair. That's how I avoid white flakes from flaxseed gel. Do you still use a French press? That is a very good question. I know that in my original flaxseed gel video that I made like 4 years ago, that was one of you guys' favorite tips. I loved it too for a period. A couple things have changed. I prefer to make flaxseed gel in bulk. When I make it in bulk, it's just a lot faster for me to strain it into a very big bowl with a really large strainer. I don't have to worry about it being able to strain through the French press. But if you're someone who likes to make flaxseed gel fresh every single time you use it, the French press is great. But for me right now, with how much I like to make at once, no, I don't use it anymore. How long does flaxseed gel last? I just know if you're asking that question, you didn't watch the whole video. I'm not answering that question again. Next question. Can I use ground flax seeds instead of whole? Unless you want ground flax seeds stuck in your hair, girl, no. You gotta use the whole seeds. Same for herbs. Any herbs that you want to use in your hair, do not use the powders. That will get stuck in your hair and it will be too difficult to get out. Use the whole herbs. Do I have to use herbs in my flaxseed gel?
Come on, why is there all this extra stuff?
Girl, no, you don't. You don't have to use herbs in your flaxseed gel. Although herbs can add extra benefit, you don't need to put herbs into the flaxseed gel. If you want to keep it as simple and basic as possible, just stick to the flax seeds and water. It will work just as well. Do I leave the flaxseed gel in my hair or do I wash it out? You could do both. Really, this depends on what you're going for. Flaxseed gel could be used for so many different things. You could use it as a pre-poo. You could use it as a hair mask, a styler. And when I say styler, I mean you leave it in. It's even super great for your scalp if you want to apply it there as well. It all just depends on your hair type and what it is that you're going for. So if you have curly hair, it will be really beneficial for you to leave it in your hair. If you have straight hair, a lot of people I've seen use it as a mask and that works better for them. Even if you have natural hair, some people just use it as a pre-poo and then wash it out. It is a multi-purpose DIY, truly. You can experiment with using it before you lock down a consistent routine. Those are all the most commonly asked questions I get. If I missed anything, feel free to just leave them in the comment section. I will get to them as soon as I can. Remember to download your free flaxseed gel cheat sheet and I'll see you guys next time.
It's easy to forget about self-maintenance, especially if we're not feeling like it. But when we look good, we feel good. So in this routine, you'll see how I cut my own hair, do my nails, make sugar wax, and take care of my skin at home when it is looking very rough. So if you need some beauty TLC, let's do it together. I'm using my Cura clip set with some hair shears to maintain my layers.